Hello. I'm Mofox McNasty from the server of Siren, Final Fantasy XIV. Today I'm going to do a quick overview of the Stormbard rotation. Really more of an opener. I don't think bards actually have a rotation, it's more just keeping your stuff up. But, just for shits and giggles and to help a few free company mates out, this is what to do and why to do it. So let's talk about the opener and let's get right into it. So this is assuming you're in a boss match. If you're doing trash, you're probably going to be doing a different rotation or no real rotation at all, and just kind of like keeping your songs up and such. So to start things off, the way I was given the rotation I was shown is you open with Foe's Requiem, which if you see in the top right of the screen, it gives any nearby enemies will increase their damage by 3%. Now you may think that's a pretty small number, why even bother using that, especially since it drains mana. But if you're in a party, everyone gets to 3%. So say you're in a raid group with 6 other people doing damage. Obviously the healers technically shouldn't be doing damage, but they may be. So you have anywhere from 6 to 8 people doing 3% more damage to that enemy. And you could do the math on your own because I'm bad at math. Now, the rotation I was shown has a infusion of dexterity potion to it. I don't have one of those because, well, they're expensive, and if you look at my guild here, I'm pretty broke. But, so, what we're going to do is we're going to move from Foe's Requiem into Straight Shot, and that's going to give us our it only gives 10%. I thought it was 20%. I guess they changed it in 4.0. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did change it. So anyway, you're going to get your 10% critical hit rate increase. This is the one skill that you should always keep up, and the one skill I always forget to keep up. So, right after Straight Shot, we're going into Bloodletter, which is off the cooldown. And a lot of what we're going to be doing is off cooldown abilities to global cooldown abilities, and kind of like back and forth, weave them in between, so that like when you're trying to get things in between that 2 point, whatever your skill speed cast time is. So far we have Foe's Requiem, then we have Straight Shot, and Bloodletter. And to follow that up, we're going into Ranging Strikes. Now, the thing about Bloodletter is, I'm going to give you a term that I've been using since pretty much the days of EverQuest. It's called mask casting. It's basically when you cast an ability right on top of another one, to the point where it's kind of like 2 abilities become one. So with Bloodletter, you can get an attack like Straight Shot to mask over Bloodletter. However, Bloodletter has this drawback time, as you can see in the animation, so you can't actually mask another ability under it, and that on top of which you still have that 2.41 recast time, or whatever your recast time may be, depending on your skill speed, like I said. So from there, we're going to go into Wanderer's Minuet, which you can read the description on your own time, but basically you're going to get an extra attack with that, as long as your dots are up, which is very important. So from Wanderer's Minuet, we're going to go into Caustic Bite, which is going to be your first dot, and you're going to follow it up with Empyreal Arrow. And then Empyreal Arrow will be able to be masked from the first poison into the second one. I'm sorry, it will be masked from Caustic Bite into Empyreal Arrow, and then you're going to follow up with Stormbite. From there, you're going to want to do Sidewinder. However, you're going to want to wait at least 1 global cooldown before you use Sidewinder, because I have seen it, and it has happened to me several million times, where I went to use Caustic Bite and follow up with Stormbite and use Sidewinder, and what happens is it only registers the first dot. So you want to let the Stormbite ability register that it's on the target before you use Sidewinder. So we're going to go from one on the global cooldown ability to an off the global cooldown ability, which is going to be Battle Voice, which will increase you and all your party members direct hit by 15%. And from what I've been told, direct hit is pretty good these days. Square Enix introduced a new ability or a new stat, and they want everyone to use it. So from there, you're going to be spamming Heavyshot pretty much non-stop, because what you want after Sidewinder, obviously, from your Heavyshot is Refulgent Arrow to proc. And in order to get that to proc, your Heavyshot needs to get Straight Shot. And once Straight Shot is up, then you can use Refulgent Arrow. Now, very important here, because of the potency of 300 that you have from Refulgent Arrow, you want to use Barrage on Refulgent Arrow. Now, before level 70, I should have mentioned earlier, this is pretty much if you're level 70, quote-unquote rotation. I used to use Barrage and then into Empyreal Arrow, which you can see I have right next to each other for that reason. But when you get Refulgent Arrow, it's going to be Barrage Refulgent Arrow whenever it's up. And also because the long 90-second cooldown, it's sort of ridiculous or redundant, really, to use it with Empyreal Arrow. So from there, you're going to be trying to get two things to proc. One is going to be Refulgent Arrow. You're going to be doing that by basically spamming Heavyshot. And two will be, for Wondrous Minuet, you want Pitch Perfect at 3 stacks if possible, because you get a potency of 420 with it, and that's what you want. You want those 3 stacks as often as possible. So in order to do that, we need our dots to proc, and we need Empyreal Arrow. So again, when you're at 70, you will get this wonderful trait, or 68, excuse me, that it's pretty much the backbone of your songs is going to be enhanced Empyreal Arrow, because every time you use Empyreal Arrow while your song is up, it's going to proc a stack. So let's take a look at the board. Also, get used to having your focus target up. Very useful thing. So let's do this. It's going to be Foe's Requiem, Straight Shot, Raging Strikes. Excuse me, it should have been Bloodletter first. Excuse me. Pop Wondrous Minuet, pop Caustic Bite, Empyreal Arrow, Stormbite, and Battle Voice, and then you use Sidewinder. And then, if this is up, use it, and now we're going to hit our Heavyshot as much as possible. And as you can see, Refulgent Arrow has procced, so we're going to use Barrage, and then we're going to hit Refulgent Arrow, boom, 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 654K. And from there, once that is going, you're pretty much just moving from there. That's really the basic of it. And Bard has a lot of leniency with if you, say, mess something up. So like, say, so I'm attacking this. Just do the basic rotation. As you can see, I messed it up. Instead of doing Song into Caustic Bite and then Empyreal Arrow and then Stormbite, the effect is still the same. You're getting the same thing. So a rotation is kind of up in the air about Bards. And you can see how fast the stacks went up just by having a high crit rate. So from here, it's basically just maintenance. You know, avoid AoEs on the ground, keep your rotation going. And you see, I'm sitting here, I don't have my song up, blah, 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 blah. I'm just spamming this, spamming that. Really not a big deal. Comes up, shoot it. And even if, say, if you have Mage's Ballad here, and you use Empyreal Arrow while Bloodletter is already off the cooldown, really not that big of a deal. You're doing damage. That's what's important. see, I don't have my dots up. Oh no, my dots aren't up. Well, boo-hoo. You know, you're going to lose some DPS, but unless you're a nut job parser, really not that big of a deal. You can let your songs drop for a few seconds and you'll be okay. That's basically how it goes. And Iron Jaws anytime. I have to use Iron Jaws when my dots reached about 10 seconds. Just out of security. You can let them go all the way down to like 2 seconds. And as long as you have your dots up, that's all that matters. Excuse me, as long as the icons for the dots are up. So you can get it down all the way to 1 second, cast Iron Jaws, and it'll tick to 0, fall off the images will fall off the target, and it'll still count. And you'll get your proc. Let me see if I can get this up. Show you. So let this count down to 1, and we'll just do whatever until then. Sidewinder. Put a song on. Double on this. Do that. Raging Strikes. Why not? This is why I said there's not really much of a rotation for Bard. There's an opener, but after that, it's basically maintenance. 7, 6, 5, 3, 2. We'll let it go at 2, 1. Back to thing. Now, something of personal debate for me has been if straight shot is about to go down, but straighter shot is up, do I go for Refulgent Arrow or do I keep my 10% critical going? Answer so far has been just go for the damage you're going to get from Refulgent Arrow. And I messed up when I wanted to show you again because I was talking. So let's go through it one more time. I had Empyreal Arrow. But yeah, even there you can see like I had 2 ticks for Pitch Perfect and I had Empyreal Arrow up, but I missed it and didn't get that 420 potency. But c'est la vie. Again, if you're a crazy parser person, I didn't get it. Yeah, so for safety purposes, let your dots go down to about 6, maybe 5, just because of your off the cooldown is going to be in the 3-second range, as you can see in the top corner or below. What else can we talk about as far as abilities go? Now, another rotation that I was personally using before I was shown the opener that I just showed you now was a little different and a little more set up before a song. So what I would do, I would start with Raging Strikes, go into Straight Shot, then I would follow with Bloodletter, and then use Caustic Bite, then go into a song, then go into Stormbite. And once Stormbite was up, use Battle Voice, obviously, and then hit the Sidewinder. So let's try that now. Okay. Raging Strikes, Straight Shot. What was it? It was Bloodletter, wasn't it? I screwed it up. Let's start over. Screw it. We'll just keep going. Like I said, there's a lot of leniency with Bards, so we'll just say I hit Raging Strikes, Straight Shot, Bloodletter, Caustic Bite, Wanderer's Minuet, then you're going to hit Stormbite, then you're going to hit Empyreal Arrow, Battle Voice, and Refulgent Arrow isn't up, I see. Screwing up. But even with all this kind of mess up, I'm a sloppy player, not going to lie. I'm not a very hardcore person, but I'm just showing this as give people an idea of how to play Bard, really. And if you have any points or tips to give, I'd greatly appreciate them. Because as you can see, I'm a sloppy player. But even as sloppy as I am, and I am going to do Exdeath playthrough to give you an idea of what you can do as a bard in an end dungeon, or an end boss fight, really. You'll see me messing up as I do, but even with that, I have been usually neck and neck with, say, like a monk or something as far as the enmity meter goes. That might not mean too much, but to me it's like if I can keep up with a monk, I'm pretty proud of myself. And it's not like you're playing a summoner where it's like if you mess up your rotation, everything goes to shit and you have to start all over again in another 30 seconds. With Bard, it's really nice and loose. There you can see the Bloodletter not letting me cast. Oh yeah, sure, now you want to proc. That's kind of the troublesome thing, is you have some RNG when it comes to your songs, but I see the songs as being a bonus to your already large arsenal. So one thing I do want to go over is Foe's Requiem and Refresh. Now, the way this rotation was shown to me was that you cast Foe's Requiem and then Refresh right on top of it. I, however, think this is sort of a superfluous and almost redundant action, because the mana drain from Foe's Requiem, it isn't mitigated by Refresh. It's just, the drain is just too much. And I'll show that to you here. So Foe's Requiem, we're going to hit Refresh. And as you can see, even with Refresh up, we're getting large ticks just biting away. So you're talking about maybe a few extra seconds of having Foe's Requiem up. And to some you might say, oh, every second counts, blah, 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 blah. Again, I'm not a hardcore player. I assume if you're watching this video, you too probably are not, or you're just looking for the very basics of Bard, which is all I'm really trying to cover here. Again, if you're like an extreme parser, you don't need these instructions. You already know what you're doing. This is more for some FC mates who started playing Bard or are looking to improve a bit. So this is really the very bare bones of how to play level 70 Bard in 4.0, 4.01, the Stormbard. And that's all for that. Thank you for watching. Well, folks, McNasty. Ta-da! Until next time. Wait, hold on, I want to do something here. Give me that. Hey, I'm gonna give. Yeah. Pew!